Well, today we have Reverend Allie Benjamin. She is the board president of the affiliated New Thought Network, and she is the founder and director of the Satya Center for Spiritual Living in Ogden, Utah. And she also serves the Bear Valley Center for Spiritual Enrichment in Big Bear Lake, California, as a co spiritual leader. Ali is a painter artist whose spiritually inspired art is embraced around the world, activating, awakening, and healing. Ali and her husband Michael enjoy God on a joyride. Every time she says that, it makes me smile. And her adventures are in their Om Shati home, which is a camper van that it's a pretty nice one, I might add, that they travel around the US interviewing thought leaders and sharing their empowering message of overcoming life's challenges, living unconditional joy, and activating authentic power. Welcome, Allie.
Thanks for having me, Cherie.
I'm really glad that you are here on this program. It's been such a joy in us developing this friendship and relationship. And it's just each time there's just this joy of being in each other's energy and space. So I'm just really excited that you're here.
Thank you. I agree. I feel our connection, and every time we're together, I feel that magical spark, and look forward to each time. So thanks again for having me.
Yeah. And the reason that I've invited Allie to be with us today is to talk about women embracing getting older in our society. I'm asking her to help us look at releasing erroneous beliefs that we may have about aging, and that as we age, we somehow lose our appeal or our place in the world. And so today, jointly, our intention is to focus on embracing our divine truth as wise women. Allie's here to share her wisdom with us and to sound the call to all women as a reminder that we are no longer in competition with each other. So, this is going to be a juicy conversation. And my first question to you, Allie, is what myths did you learn growing up about women in general? And was there any kind of competition around being in womanhood?
Well, in my younger years, not really. I grew up in a family of athletes, and both parents Olympic athletes. And so I really got a sense that women are equally as physically able as men to compete. I never really embraced that sense of competition, but I really got a sense of being completely able to be in the world and on equal platform with other women and men. I didn't really see a distinction between sexes. As I got older and went to school, and I realized that there was competition, and I really didn't like that. It's really been my mission and vision in life as an adult to bring women together and to learn how to honor our unique differences and to embrace our sameness and similarities. And so any myths that I may have believed through my conditioning or growing up in England and then moving here to America when I was 14, those sort of disappeared as I got in tune with my values to bring people together and to celebrate our magnificence. So I think I transcended those at a young age. And I think a lot of us have, as we've embraced our spiritual path and our journey and have a sense of oneness. And in that sense of oneness, there's no need for competition.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Now, I know that you work with quite a number of women in this process of spiritual awakening. Do you know, are there struggles or erroneous beliefs that the women that you've worked with have to kind of work through?
Yes, definitely. I've spent 15 years in Utah, and recently I moved here to California, back to California, where I first landed when I was 14. But for the 15 years I was in Utah and really got a sense of the women's struggles there with the patriarchy and helping women to really stand in their power and to choose themselves first and to cherish themselves has been a big part of my ministry. And some of the erroneous beliefs or myths that I've heard commonly is this trying to please the men in their lives and somehow feeling that it was their duty to please, to serve, to put themselves last, that it really was their duty to serve others before themselves. So many of the women that have come to me have needed to embrace self-care, self-love, and I find that I have been able to help them bridge that gap through art. And so some of my workshops are very creative in creating art pieces, having them paint goddess figures, strong women figures. And in that, there's a sense of empowerment and self-love and self-care.
I can just say from my own personal experience that, like you, being raised in Britain, there were quite a number of rules and regs for what womanhood should look like. And so there was quite a bit of work to do that, transforming into really honoring who and what I am. And I guess I'm kind of wondering, how do women, go about doing that work at being willing to be vulnerable and say, you know what, maybe the beliefs that I was raised with, maybe they're no longer valid.
Yeah, I think that that word vulnerability and the willingness to explore our beliefs and to see which ones aren't serving us, and then developing discernment, being able to sort of differentiate between the voice of the ego and the voice of the true self. And it's in that developing discernment, being able to really hear the heart's voice or the voice of the soul, and also notice the voice of the ego or the voice that says, I'm not good enough, or I need to please, or I'm not good enough. And just being able to, just merely seeing that we are conditioned through our upbringing, through our conditioning, to listen to that voice, that external voice, or that voice of the not self, and that discernment, that really being able to tune in and know what's true, and stay focused in our own story and in our own lives, and making sure that all that we say and all that we think and all that we feel and all that we do is in alignment with our true values as women. And I imagine that mine aren't much different than most, which are to be at peace, to have peace and equanimity, to find joy and love and caring and kindness and creativity. So on a daily basis, I check in. Moment to moment, I check in. Is this thought I'm having in alignment with my values? Is this action I'm doing in alignment with my values?
So you really brought up a huge and powerful point of discerning the voice, discerning the inner dialogue. And often when I start working with women, they can only hear one voice. And usually it's a critical voice that they hear. And so, how do women get to the point of realizing that there's an inner critic and then there is this divine higher voice? What do we do with that?
Mm. Well, it's interesting. I think of that inner critic voice, we can sort of spin that to be our inner coach. And growing up with athletes, I was always witnessing their relationship with their coach. And when you're at that Olympic level, you have a coach that's one-on-one and it's pretty much with you all the time. And so I like that shift of perspective, to not make that inner critic wrong, but to just embrace it as an inner coach, as a way of guiding us towards what we might want to look at in our lives, uh, what we what we truly want to express as, and to see how that inner critic could be actually our inner coach.
So if someone's hearing you're not good enough and that's their inner critic voice, how is that going to be transformed?
Well, I use a teaching symbol, which is a circle with a line through the middle.
Hmm.
And I like to think of below the line and above the line.
Okay.
And below the line, I think of unconscious thinking, and above the line, conscious thinking. And so when I notice that I'm believing something that makes me fearful or upset or feeling less than, I know that I'm in the ego. I know I'm in below the line. So I simply take a moment to remember my values, remember who I am as a child of God, that I am unique and perfect and absolutely powerful. And I move above the line by remembering that, by remembering my innate wisdom, freedom, love, my divinity. And so just knowing that I have a tendency to dip below the line, then I can take steps, whether it's through affirmations or through meditation, taking a walk, doing some painting, something like that, that gives me that ability to step above the line to where I remember my divinity and remember my values that I'm here to express as my most brilliant self. And I'm really always, moment by moment, creating my experience through the thoughts I'm having. So as I know that I'm responsible for creating my reality, and it's primarily through my thoughts that I do this. It's of utmost importance to, like Emerson said, to stand guard at the doorway of my mind and to choose those above the line, empowering, spirit-centered wisdom. I think of the author Paul Selig. He talks about, I know who I am in truth, I know what I am in truth, and I know how I serve in truth, and I know who I am. We can all do this. We can all know who we are as children of God, and that what we do in the world and how we've developed our lives is perfect. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing missing. There's no shame, blame, guilt, or betrayal in this higher paradigm. And that when we know who we are and that what we are is perfect, we know that all that we are and all that we do is the way we serve, and just our very presence in the world. When we realize how precious we are, we then embody our uniqueness, um, and are able to be that self, that sovereign self, without apologies. And that's what I feel, women, they know this. We all have this inner goddess. Um, and I actually have a poem that I'd love
Yeah,
to read
please.
if you'd like. A goddess is a symbol of beauty and love, with a sense of being able to rise above mindless judgment and fear-based thought that through the ages we have been taught. She's an expression of joy, spirit, and freedom, of peace, acceptance, grace, and compassion. She is defined by no one except herself. She embodies a richness far surpassing wealth. Of any age, she remains sensual and feminine, a diva divine, whatever mood she's in. She will be there, a confidant and friend. These are her gifts on which one can depend. Her strengths are many and her wisdom deep. Trust in her, for your secrets she will keep. So please look within and trust you will find an inner goddess of the rarest kind.
Oh, that's beautiful. I got goosebumps on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. When something's that inspiring, you know that it comes not just from within you, but also within your divine nature. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. I also thought some of the techniques that you mentioned before about the thoughts above the line and below the line, just making it a reality that all women across the board have this. It's making this really clear that as a human being, we have all of these thoughts, that there's nothing wrong with being a woman and having those kind of weird, bizarre thoughts and having that higher nature as well. We are all of it. And what I'm hoping people get from this conversation is that we have the power within us to acknowledge these things and shift them. We have the power to create from right here in this space a new way of being. And, you've given us just one little teaser right there that we can pull out and really rock the world with. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank you for it. It's a gift.
Yeah.
So, as we move in this conversation, my question to you is, well, what do you believe today about collaborating with other wise women? And what do you think about collaborating with maybe someone that's younger, a young woman as well coming out in the world?
Mhm. Yeah, I've been a collaborator with elder women and younger women, and I find it to be very inspiring. I think of the maiden and the mother and the crone,
Mhm.
and I think of these three stages. And I also have three granddaughters, so I think of the young girls. And so four stages, these beautiful young women that are coming into the world, these maidens and the mothers and the crone, and we have all aspects within ourselves. So when we can
Yeah.
get together and share our wisdom from our unique perspective, I think that it's highly inspiring and highly powerful. And I found that through the arts, um, music and painting and sculpting and theater, that these platforms sort of give us um, some equal ground, if you will, for us to embrace wherever we are on the spectrum of age and to bring our unique essence into life in collaborating in through the arts. I think is a way that I've seen it
Mhm.
be very powerful, and at the same time very enriching for wherever we are on that age continuum. And so that's what I would encourage people to do if they have a desire to look into the arts, to find those groups, those opportunities, a workshop, a class where you can engage in that creative way. And it's not just necessarily through the arts. It's I believe that we're being called at this particular time in history to embrace ourselves as thought leaders, as compassionate leaders. And in that way, we're being asked to find what we truly value in our life and then bring that into life in creative ways. And I think, regardless of your age, if you know what you value and you know that what you have some desire for, and you know that the world is looking for each of us to share our unique creative magnificence, then all pieces of the puzzle, any age, shape, size, race, gender, everyone's an intricate, unique, valuable part of that puzzle. And when we have that awareness, this awareness of oneness and how special and needed and valued and what meaning we bring to the world, then it's natural that we just bring that forth at any age. And that's how we learn, is by seeing, especially my granddaughters, I see them showing up in ways that they're not embarrassed or shy to come into the world and show who they are. So I sort of learn from them, and they've been a great inspiration to me.
Thank you, Ali. Yeah, there's something about womanhood in general, no matter where we are on the spectrum of birthing and creating. And when we are in that zone of creationism, we just shine. And it doesn't matter where, you know, where we are, age, like you mentioned, sized, and, um, belief system. It's that level of the spark of the divine that calls us to create our truth in the world. So I really do love that. So before we close out, my my question to you is, do you have any suggestions that you would um, invite folks to do as they are trying to transform in a new way?
I do. I know that there's an exercise, a little thing I do at a workshop that I offer called Choose Yourself First, and I wrap a little gift and I put a big bow on it and I make it look really beautiful and I set it at the front of the room, and so everyone coming in can see this present, this gift, and then I pick it up and I ask, who would like this? And it's amazing. There'll be those women, most of the women don't raise their hand, they won't take it. There'll be that one woman or maybe two women in the group that will say, I do. And they take, the first one that displays that desire, I give them the gift. And then I make a bit of a thing about them opening it, and then they pull out a piece of jewelry or something I've made, and
Yes.
everyone's ooh and eyeing. And then we go around and we talk about, why didn't you put your hand up? Why didn't you accept that gift? And it's amazing. They have all kinds of reasons, myths, beliefs that
Yes.
keep them from accepting the gift. So my wisdom is, know that life is always presenting its gifts. Be the one that
Mm.
says yes. Say yes to what life is presenting for you.
Awesome. That's beautiful. I love that. Say yes to the gifts in life. Ooh, that's juicy. And so, Allie, if someone wants to get in touch with you or maybe work with you or take a class or a workshop or some artist kind of endeavor, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can get in touch with me through our website. It's growingedgelive.com. And so that's GROING, growing, edge, EDGE, live, LIVE, growingedgelive.com. And you can connect with me there and explore some of the things that I have to offer. And I would love to work with you if you're seeking one-on-one coaching, counseling, someone to meditate with, pray with, develop a spiritual practice, learn how to create a sacred altar. I'd love to be your guide. It's been so nice to explore these questions
Thank you,
together,
Ellie. Thank you
Cherie.
for
Thank
being
you.
here. And for our viewers, I really hope that you have found some poignant takeaways because this was really a deep conversation on how we can transform and shift in the world to create that life that we all yearn for. And the power is within each and every one of you. So I am just excited that we got to do this. And let me tell you just a little aside about Allie. She has these deep spiritual practices that just when I'm with her and we pray together, there's just this sense of calm and balm that just blesses me. So if that's
Mm,
something that you're really looking for, she's your girl. I'll see you next time. Thank you.
thank you.